Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Malfi TV. And today, this is what I hope will be the first of many where I'll be doing reviews of movies and TV shows, which is one of my other passions. And our movies and TV shows will be judged on what I would like to call the Malfi scale, patent pending. So the Malfi scale is made up of these criteria. It is story and writing, character and acting, visuals and tech, sound and atmosphere, enjoyment and rewatchability. And also the Malfi scale is from 1 to 10. First up is a series that answers the question, could one ever die from playing rock, paper, scissors? Yeah, I know. And this is what I would like to call the greatest damn show of all time. And if you don't know what I'm talking about already, I'm talking about Squid Game. And I realized in the internet with, I think it's called the Mandela effect or whatever. We call it Squid Games because they play multiple games, but the official name of the series is actually Squid Game. This is a South Korean drama thriller which was first released in 2021, which is the peak of COVID, with the second season coming in 2024 and the final season in 2025. The basis of this game is that they take 456 financially desperate people and put them in an an arena of sorts, because in this arena they are faced with multiple they get to play multiple games, and these games you either win or you are dead. It's kind of crazy. So these people get to play games which are based off of Korean childhood games. So imagine this, you get to play your childhood game that you played as a child, but the twist is this time you might die. These games, or the total price for the games is for 45.6 billion won, which is a South Korean currency. Shout out to the South Koreans, which is 39.86
Listen properly.
yo 39.86 million USD and 701 million rands. That's a lot of money. Okay, so in my initial research, I fed Google the wrong information, so my bad. Now think about it. Would you do it? Wouldn't you do it? Like, I would do it, man. The series stretched across 3 seasons, totaling at 22 episodes, which, to be fair, could have been 2 seasons. I feel like the 3 seasons for was just a money grab, because they realized by the end of the first season that people were really into this thing and were really invested. So they tried to push it as far as they could, but 2 seasons would have done it, and they would have ended on a high, because at the end of the third season, a lot of people like like didn't like that they waited so long for that particular ending, which I won't talk about because you have to go watch the series. So the first season follows player 456, and I would like to mention the actual names of the actors. I've tried pronouncing them, but hey, it's rough there. So I won't do it to myself and to the Korean language, which I highly respect. Is it called Korean? I don't know. But yeah, player 456 was divorced and in debt and living with his mother. And one day, on a random day on a subway, a man approaches him, say, "We play this game. If you lose, I slap you. If you win, I give you money." Damn. A couple of slaps later and a couple of whatever, he won and he lost. So there was a lot of slapping. And then at the end of that, he's given a card that there are other games like this. So if you wanna play, hit us up. And man was like, okay. He went to the games, he played. Spoiler alert, he won in season 1. And yeah, we're gonna end it there on the story. So this was Netflix's most watched series of all time, with reaching 140 million households and 1.6 billion hours in the first 4 weeks. That's a lot. That's a lot of that's a lot of watching. And season 2 hit 68 million views in 4 days, which is kind of crazy. And it was number 1 in 92 countries because there was a lot. People expected a lot, and sorry. Then we go to season 3, which reached 60.1 million views and 268.4 million hours in the first 3 days. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like there was a kind of a downward spiral to this day because they dragged it out for so long. And if you let's just say this, if you look at the history of the series, the person who created in 2009. They struggled to find a producer. That's the story. They couldn't find a producer to produce the series. So from 2009 to 2021, a that's a lot of time. But this is kind of the story with these kind of series where they'll pop out of nowhere and you'll hear that no, it's been in the pipeline for like 10 years, 20 years. And yeah, man. So continuing on the accolades that were garnered by this series, it won 6 Primetime Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe, and was the first non-English series nominated for Outstanding Drama Series at the Emmys. Yeah, that's shout out to them though, because no, I don't know if you call this rage bait or whatever, but for me, K dramas, hey, it's not my cup of tea, because drama, okay, drama as a concept and on its own, I get bored with drama because drama is predictable. So K dramas are very extreme if you watched one, because you you know what they're gonna do. They might take 20 years to get there, but you know it's gonna happen. So what Squid Games did, or what they mastered, is that they didn't go with traditional drama. I don't know if it was the violent aspect of the thing that made it unpredictable, but they didn't go. It wasn't predictable like most dramas, and a few of the K dramas that I've watched, they've been predictable, and I've fallen asleep many times. And a shout out to people who actually sit down and watch those, because power to you, I wouldn't. So the the series highlighted a couple of things that sparked a couple of conversations in the group chats and in multiple communities. The first thing is class disparity, because in the games are organized by uh, people who would like to call the elites. So people put money together, they invest in this thing where they watch the poor people fight it out for what they consider pocket change. So you could see that in that, well, I like to call it uh, not a small country, but in that in that population, there are people who are able to afford an island and build a whole arena and put together yo and put together this amount of money, like 700 million rands, to put it into perspective for South Africa, and that's a lot of money. So people are able to put that together and watch people fight over that. and the people who will win this thing, like 70% of that money will go into covering their debts. So we get to see the disparities in class, and then modern capitalism, which hops on the back of class disparity because these people put money together and they were like, "Wah, fight for it," which is what is happening in modern society where we are all fighting for a loaf of bread, and there are people there in the bakery who put out one loaf of bread every 10 years and they're like, "Wow, fight for it." The another issue highlighted was the illusion of choice, because these people are they're given a choice that if the majority of you all agree that no, we are ending the games will end, and the profit gathered to that point will be shared amongst the individuals. And they tried at the in the first season, the games were ended and the people were put back into their homes, and they realized that they would rather go there and fight for money than live here with no money, because they were in crippling debt. So they made it seem like they have a choice on whether they're going into these games or not. But if we're being brutally honest, they didn't have a choice. They had and like they didn't have a choice. If you choose between the potential 700 million and negative 500 million, there's an obvious choice. Even if it even if it's not a choice like that, but it's very obvious. You're going to choose the possibility of money over the reality of negative money. That's very obvious. And the final highlight of the show was human nature under pressure, because as as normal humans will do, you go into you go into these games and you find out that if you hang out with these people, we have a better chance of going forward if we push this thing together. But at the end of the day, humans are gonna betray each other. I'd rather take that money for myself and be like, hey, I'm dipping, and step on your neck on my way to that money than be like, oh, we're gonna share. We're not built like that as humans, and this was highlighted in this story, because if you're fighting for survival, hey, it's either me or you. It's not me and you. That's what it boils down to, that as humans. It's either me or you. And it's a painful reality, but a reality nonetheless, because we see it every day, you know. And unfortunately, it's just hardwired into our DNA that it's either me or you. It could be me and you, but hey, that rarely happens. Radile Warasa. The, I think the biggest strength the series had was the design of the set and how they built the world uh, uh, around this series. The setting, let me just say that the setting, because if you know, Korean content is very bright in its nature, so they they took advantage of that, and they they put in very bright colors, which kind of distracted you from the violence and all those things that will kind of drive away certain views. You know that that bright. There was a lot of bright colors. Even if you look at the games, the sets of the games, they weren't just plain. It was like a kid's game, but you can die. That's the whole concept of the game. So the the bright colors and the robot from Squid Games, the voice is very childish. So it will tell you that you're going to die, but you wouldn't think that fairly you're going to die because it was very soft and very colorful and very distracting to the from the gore and all that. So that's one of the one and their biggest strength. And another one is emotion and performance. If you look at the main characters in the series, they don't look like they're acting. They You'd swear that those are their real lives. And take note that I said main characters. We'll get into the extras in a moment. So social commentary. So as I said before, it sparked those conversations that contributed into how we we see the world, and there were a couple of revelations to people who, when aware, they became aware because you can see that, oh shit, this happened to me last week. But when you see it in a series, you're like, hey man, that's not too far from the truth. As much as we are not all being killed, but there's a there are certain elements of that series that we can relate to our everyday lives, and that was a very key thing that they did. Squid Games took an what I would classify was an already thriving industry, being the K dramas, into a whole another level because the amount of people who became fans of K drama, because Squid Games pick up the slack from what are those words? BTS. BTS was the one flying the K the K-pop world. K yo BTS was flying the K-pop flag high, and uh Squid Games picked up the slack with the K dramas and Korean film in general because a lot of people started watching because when you see a good thing from a particular corner of the world, you want to see what do they have, what else do they have. So that became an interesting thing that happened. The sound was a bit of a problem because when I watch my series or my movies, I want to set it to a particular volume, and I don't like it when I have to increase or decrease at that particular place because it either gets too low or too loud. Let's stay at that level and be comfortable for me throughout the series because what happened in this thing is that there are very low lows and very high highs, and you have to keep adjusting your volume if you're watching it on your phone or on your TV, and especially if you're on headphones. There are points where it gets even painful to your eyes, and yo, there are points where it gets painful to your ears. I don't know why I said eyes.
You are slow learner. Fucking idiot.
Where you have to reduce the volume, and then after reducing it 2 minutes later you have to increase the volume. There's a problem, but generally that didn't happen a lot. But the you know the sound and the visuals were on point, not gonna lie. But some of them, especially in the town that 456 was from, there were points where you couldn't, it was too dark, you couldn't see certain things. And acting, I'll talk about this earlier, that the main characters were on point. Like they were all a hit. There was no miss. But the extras, you could say some of them were doing too much, and some of them were doing too little. Like you could tell that they were acting, and there's not a very good thing for in in any field. Yo, in this particular field of acting and film and theater. So I can't be able to see that you're acting. It makes you a terrible actor, you know. So now we're going to pacing. Pacing, the first season pacing was on point because they got to the point without leaving out any critical details because the story was perfect. But then the second and third season were kind of dragged out. Like like I said, money grab. They were trying to get as much money as possible and they milked it. So it kind of threw off the pacing because it took me I watched the first season in like less than a week, and season 2 and season 3 took me like 3 months to watch the whole thing. So it it will get boring because you'll be like, get to the point, and they are not getting to the point. They're just repeating a particular point in the story where it's it's on a loop, and it takes 3 episodes. Yo, it takes 3 episodes to get out of that loop, and then they hop into another loop for 2 episodes, and just like that, and it got pretty boring. And I like to watch. I don't like to skip when I watch things because when you skip, you end up skipping important points of the story, so it gets boring. Like the series turns into you know, it turns into background noise because you end up grabbing your phone and then you go into your phone, then you start scrolling while you're not watching the the TV is watching you. So that was one mess that they had on the series. If you like dark drama and thrillers in general, you would enjoy this series. I don't want to call it a show because it's short. In my opinion, TV shows are like they go on for like 10 years. Nowadays, we don't have TV shows. Okay, but this is sort of one another day. As I mentioned earlier, our criteria are story and writing, character and acting, visuals and take, sound and atmosphere, enjoyment and rewatchability. Those are our, I think, five criteria, and then I'll give it an overall, which is how I place it on the Murphy scale. So story and writing, give it a 7 out of 10. Characters and acting a 6 because there were really good actors and really terrible actors. So I'll just leave it at that. Visuals and tech, as I said before, 9. It was a 9. It wasn't perfect, but hey, they did the thing. There was room for improvement. It was close to perfect. Sound and atmosphere, 8. Like I said, there were points where the volume was either too low or too high, and me personally, I don't enjoy that. Enjoyment and rewatchability, I'll give it a 7 because I wouldn't watch it. Let me just say this: I don't see myself watching Squid Games again this year, or even 6 months into next year. I'll watch it for my July next year. Then that's when I'll find myself watching an episode per month, you know. But yeah, it's one of those shows where you have to wait, you have to miss it to watch it. And right now, I don't miss it yet because it's, it's still there. And yeah, overall, it's a 7.4 on the 159 scale. Yeah, and let me just end it like by saying this without spoiling anything. The ending of the series is set up in a way that it allows for a reboot because they didn't just close off the universe. There is a there is they left room for someone to take the story and take it forward. Maybe we'll see that in like 10 years, or maybe not. The ending was ambiguous, to say the least. So it leaves room for imagination where someone maybe will take over and create another chapter of Squid Game. But yeah, nah. Thank you for watching. And if you have a recommendation for me, because if you know I'm not doing, if you know or don't know, I'm not doing anything for like until the end of the year. So I'm on a break, kind of. So I'm watching everything and anything and everything. So if you have a recommendation for me, just shoot it in the comment. Until next time, bye bye.